The Naga story could be quite remote and meaningless to other people in the world. But for the Nagas, we draw our history from our mountains, the hills, the rivers, and the streams. In fact, every blade of grass and shrub and the trees, they stand as witness to our Naga way of life, and our actions and thoughts are even recorded by them. The very river that flows down, murmuring and gently flowing, keeps reminding us of our Naga history. Our ancestral belief about our land is that we don't owe the land. In fact, we have just borrowed the land from our children. And our belief is embedded in some strong faith that if a Naga cannot stand for the right towards freedom, dignity, and honor, he will be turned into a miniature human being, only fit to be climbing chili trees and brinjal trees. So maybe it must be on this sort of belief and thought that is so strongly embedded in all the Nagas that when the colonial power were leaving our land in 1947 August, it was quite natural for our Naga elders at that time to naturally and honestly declare in what they believed to be the truth. They declared a Naga nation on 14 August 1947. As for India, the nation of India, who have proclaimed Swaraj as my birthright, and with a highly noble principle of struggle using that ahimsa, that's non-violence, they came into a nationhood on 15 August 1947, where the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, said, "As the world sleeps, India awakes to freedom." Unfortunately, as India came into its freedom and was enjoying the glow of freedom, they could not legitimize the Naga stand of Naga nationhood. They rather felt it as a threat to India. But for the Nagas, they had made it very clear that they are a nation, and therefore they did not sign the instrument of accession to be a part of the Indian family. At the same time, the Nagas thought that we have grown up with certain ancestral ethos on living on self-governance with democratic principles and into an egalitarian structure of a society, which they fear that such a structure of an egalitarian society may not be assimilated into an Indian, deep-rooted Indian hierarchical society of caste system. I think these were the reasons that made our Naga elders to declare that tiny as we are, or far removed from the India, but we can be a neighbor with India. But even this legitimacy was denied by India. And so in May 1951, the Nagas asserted their right to their nationhood by holding a plebiscite where 99.9% stood for sovereignty and independence. But again, this was delegitimized. It was not legitimized by India. I think this is how the India, rather than understanding the Nagas in their wisdom or trying to go deeper into why the Naga stands are of this nature, they conveniently, without any deep thought, they just conveniently name the Nagas as insurgents. I think this has really hurt the Nagas, and therefore the Nagas continue to stand for the right of the Nagas, because if the Nagas fail to take a stand, like I said before, the Nagas could be turning into tiny miniatures only fit to be climbing chili trees and brinjal trees. But then for India, they came out with the might is right policy, and then they used the strategies of divide and rule, carrot and stick, and the total militarization with backed by the Armed Forces Special Power Act. So India's stand of might is right was again responded by the Naga stand of right is might. So this prolonged more than 70 years conflict of might is right and right is might has caused immeasurable suffering, has left behind immeasurable suffering for the Naga people. And more so, it has also affected the minds and have left behind a scarring mind, whereby the Nagas today, we find ourselves almost becoming like miniature human being with a miniature mind full of selfishness and suspiciousness and greed and undue desire for power. See? So this is how we find a degradation of human values, and maybe our Nagas are moving in such a way like the Athenians, as pointed out by Edmund Gibbons, where he has said, in the end, more than freedom, they wanted security. When the Athenians finally wanted not to give to society, but society to give to them, when the freedom they wished for was freedom from responsibility, then the Athenians ceased to exist. I think, maybe I hope the Nagas are not moving towards such cessation of existence. Unfortunately, for India, they must remember that any conflict, unless it's addressed at the root, there is always a chance of re-emergence. And we look upon India, who holds such high ideals as Satyameva Jayati. In English, probably it means truth alone triumphs. Thank you so much.